If you're anything like me, that music really is super nostalgic for you and brings back great memories. It does for me as well. I am very cynical about the things that Blizzard produces, but I actually used to be one of their biggest fans and supporters. I played most of their games. If we're going to talk about at what point their creative vision, the way they develop games, how it shifted and when it shifted, that's what I'm very interested in, talking about when it changed. And for me, I think it all started with a keyring. Hello my friends, welcome back to the PC Elitist. My name is Woodsie. I really appreciate you guys hanging around and having a discussion with me on video games. The thing I want to talk about today is Diablo 4 and the state of Blizzard. Now I know we already talked about it, but there have been developments, things have happened. Diablo 4 is now playable by at least a segment of the community. And I was kind of waiting to see what people thought about it. I was expecting it to be kind of a middling experience, and lo and behold, Kripparrian, who is a well-known streamer, YouTuber, big channel, gave a very concise, a great 1 hour breakdown of his issues with the current state of Diablo 4. Now, I think it was interesting. I think it was fascinating to listen to him go into great detail of the issues he sees with it, the systems he sees that could be fixed or repairable, and stuff that seems very heavy and would probably just be in a near similar state as they went to release. However, the thing I want to focus on, which wasn't the point of his video, was the state of Blizzard, the hype around the game, and how it was very much predictable that it was going to be a middling experience as it came out. So the state of Blizzard is that they're still riding the coattails of some of their great achievements through gaming, and they have really some big ones. I would say that World of Warcraft, in the sense of greatness, of really pushing the limit of the platform at the time, of what an MMO could be, how to design one. It was a monster, in a good way, of just creativity and just the massive size of the game and all the things that were really fleshed out really well in Vanilla WoW. It was actually quite staggering to look back on it now. I'm just amazed that with very few examples of how to make a good MMO, how much they got right with theirs. It's kind of crazy, because all we really had was like EverQuest, which was called, colloquially Evercrack because of how addictive it was, but it was only really addictive because of the communal element of the game. People never really played an MMO before, not, unless you're talking about like UO or Meridian 59 or something. But nothing quite like that. But it was pretty boring. It was a lot of just like sitting around watching TV, and like you would be watching TV in your house because combat was so slow and there was not much to do other than like chat with people. So you're kind of forced to have a community in the game because you had nothing to do but talk to each other while the boring combat played itself out. But anyway, so Blizzard releases World of Warcraft, and it becomes this massive hit. And if you weren't like present during the Vanilla WoW, like everyone in the world playing this game, or everyone in the world trying to play this game, people buying good PCs to play World of Warcraft before anyone knew what a gaming PC was, it was kind of crazy to actually have been there when it happened. And of course the Diablo franchise, which I think Diablo 2 was out before World of Warcraft a few years before, like 3 years or something like that. So they had under their belt what was considered some of the great games in gaming history, and they also had StarCraft, which at the time was was defining what esports was. So Blizzard was Blizzard was like the darling of PC gaming, and this was back in the day before PC gaming and console gaming were really intertwined as much as they are. If you were a PC gamer, you absolutely knew what Blizzard was, and if you had a console, you may not know what Blizzard is unless you happen to buy like StarCraft 64 or something weird like that. But you know, World of Warcraft really pushed it into the normal consciousness of all gamers. Everyone knew what World of Warcraft was. So it was around this time where Blizzard turned into a different company. It was, at the moment, I feel like the first manifestation of it was when they started to correct things just for the convenience of the player, but didn't seem quite to fit the world that they had set up. And my first example of it is when they converted all these keys that you had to carry. You literally had to carry keys around in the game. If you're going to a specific dungeon, you often had to get keyed for it. The reason we called it that at the time was there was literally a key you had to acquire. They've gotten rid of most of that stuff. You're like attuned for a dungeon, and your character just can have access to it. But back in the day, you literally had to have a physical key in your inventory. They eventually invented a key ring because they were tired of people complaining about random stuff like you showing up, traveling all the way to Stratholme and forgetting your key. So they gave you a key ring. And people didn't like the keys eating up inventory space and this stuff. So they just said, here's a key ring that fits in your UI. So free inventory space just to keep your keys so everyone could shut up about their complaints. I felt like that was the first time that their conversion from game developers making games that are just fun, like games they would want to play, into a business that is, you know, this games as a service mentality, which is what Blizzard is now. And here's the thing, is that games as a service mentality is mostly bad. There's some good parts about it, but Blizzard has been in that mode ever since. And if you ever listen to people talk about, who are like OG gamers, who talk about old World of Warcraft versus new World of Warcraft, the old game was full of inconveniences because that's what made the world feel realistic, whereas the new game is all about convenience, about getting the player from A to Z as quickly as possible, getting them into killing things in dungeons, and it just has lost a lot of its like pizzazz. And you know, the only people who play WoW are still people who are just, that's their like the nostalgia of it. And there's probably way more people doing it than I think, but you know, it's more of just habitual or something like that, or it's just kind of big dumb fun, you know, in an RPG sense at this point. I don't think it's really anything interesting happening in World of Warcraft anymore. So here's the part where I think it got really predictable that Diablo 4 was always going to be something middling. It's because they are in a state right now where their leadership is in an upheaval. They haven't had like a hit game since Overwatch. And Overwatch, I have a lot of mixed feelings on Overwatch. Yeah, it was a well-constructed game, but it seemed dated when it arrived. And it seemed like Blizzard was like, instead of setting the trends, they were like chasing trends. And that was the first time Blizzard had been doing that. They had always been like setting trends, and now they were like chasing them all down, trying to catch up with them. So when Overwatch came out, it seemed dated. Overwatch 2 has been out. I have barely heard anything about it, but I haven't looked up anything about it either. It seems like kind of a non sequitur, but they really needed something with Diablo 4 because they are also like in this weird merger going on with Microsoft. Activision, Microsoft, Blizzard. So I think that Blizzard wants to make it look more impressive than it actually is. So they're really hyping up Diablo 4. I actually think it's like borderline predatory the way they're pricing this game. It's like $70, and there's like other versions that go up to like $120 or over $100. That's crazy. And the thing is that I watched that whole video with Kripparrian, and you know, he's being a bit, you know, I would say, I want to say soft, but he's being a bit, you know, he's being very judicious with the words he uses, okay, about the game. But I wouldn't say he's going easy on it, though, because he's certainly being honest about it. But I think this is, if he was like really into Diablo 3, I think his bar for what he was looking for was a little bit different than mine. So, but he's he's showing his character and like showing the game and like all the various stats and the various systems at play, and to me it looks like an absolute mess. And he kind of looks at it as like, this is all very complex, and gamers are going to have a lot of time to like piece these things all together and make sense of it and find out what the best builds are. And it's really the complexity shows how deep it is in the item levels and the itemization. And to me, it looks like a garbage heap. It looks like they're just tossing everything in the pool as a way to make it feel complex. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of garbage for you to sift through. And the problem with that kind of design is like to have so many like different buffs to turn on and like perk systems and you know, skill trees and itemization, and you can use a vendor to like take one's stats off of one item and like save it and then put into another. Like, that doesn't look like good game design. It looks like a desperate Hail Mary that if we put enough things in here, it'll keep people occupied long enough for us to figure out what this game is supposed to be. It just looks so discombobulated. It doesn't, as a longtime OG gamer, when I see stuff like that, like systems, like game systems, are like, oh, you could do this and you could do this, usually my mind starts popping of possibilities, like, oh, you could do that, and then you could like layer this with this and like combine these two skills, and that'll be cool because they're working in concert with each other. And it was just so much, it just seemed like white noise at some point. And honestly, watching the footage, like the combat doesn't even look that interesting or impactful, or I don't know. It doesn't look good. When he said it's about a 6 out of 10, I'm like, that looks about right. Without me even like getting deep into it, that sounds about right. So here's the thing. I find it kind of strange. I want to give some people solace that maybe were hyped up about Diablo 4, or anyone who was seeing this video and got to the end, that this was predictable. It's fun being hyped. I enjoy being hyped as well. I like getting hyped up about a game. It's not that I'm like cynical and I don't want to get hyped. Sometimes I do, but I think if we're really being honest, that this was an entirely predictable circumstance, that this was going to come out and be something kind of mediocre. The state in which Blizzard is not a good one. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that. I am an old Blizzard fan. You can see I have a sideways StarCraft 2 poster down there. I have collector's editions of StarCraft 2. I love Blizzard. At least I did. And I hope they come back to form. But I think it's interesting that people are kind of like shocked at the quality of the game when it was always kind of written on the wall. Anyway, were you shocked? Tell me in the comments below. Guys, check out that video if you want to like hear a really concise way. He's like can put 40 hours of his play into about an hour of really good information if you're interested. Anyway, that's it for me. I will see you guys next time.